The cigar boxes that I've chosen to use for this model are basically 7 inches by 9 inches, just under. This is a slightly smaller one, under 7 inches and just under 8.5 inches. So you would just either increase the length of the neck, or you would just shorten the tailpiece slightly. Try and keep the ratio if you can, so that the bridge is in the same position. On this example, I've already drilled in the hole and I've inserted a piece of plumbing pipe fitting. There's sort of a flange here on the pipe fitting I chose. So this is a 40mm hole. So to keep it consistent, we do 38mm this way and 38mm this way. That gives us our point. So we use a bradawl to mark the point. And this may vary depending on your box. All should work clear as the sides. Now, what we don't want to do is to make a mess of the paper and to make more work for ourselves. This is the drill bit we're going to use. It's a hole saw, HSS, hole cutting saw bit. You can also use a normal Forstner bit. Okay, so we've got a hole that goes all the way through. That will guide our hole saw. A clean hole in the back, clean hole in the front. Now, if you want to insert a piece of pipe on the inner, a 40mm piece of pipe, that will work. You can also just paint or seal the edges. In laying out the neck, we want to make sure that it's centered. To do that, the best way is to go to the top of the box and just measure. This box is just under 7 inches, about 7 inches wide. So first of all, we're just going to measure 90mm from every end. Okay, we're going to measure 90. We're going to measure 90. That gives us our center line. Just check that it's 3 inches here, 3 inches here. And then we measure the neck. For this example, I'm using 33. So you take the width of the neck and you divide that by half. And then we're going to mark on either side of that center line. Now it can be quite a tight fit because we're so that's the width of the neck. And we do the same at the bottom end. We go to the bottom end. Let's put some tape over. So we can see what we're doing. Again, we are just marking on this. We're not actually cutting anything out here on this instrument, but we are marking on where the bottom is. And it may not be exactly. Okay, that's the center line. Again, mark on what the position of the neck. This is just for alignment purposes. In the plans, we can see how much we want the fretboard to be above the soundboard. About 4mm at the very most. And with the back angle on the neck, this will allow a bridge of 9 to 10 millimeters high usually. But also you can make it higher if you want a higher bridge. You can angle the neck further back. So what we now need to do, we need to measure the neck at the point where it joins the body. It's here. So we'll check the neck. And we're going to measure the neck here. This is 24. We're going to count this as 24 millimeters. I'm going to take off 20 in this case, I think. So what we're going to do, so we're going to use our marking gauge. So we've got our 20 millimeter mark, and it's marked as wide as the neck. I'm just going to put a couple of you could route this out. We're just going to saw cut it out today with a knife and saw, but you could definitely file this away, cut away and use a file if you want as well to the lines. That's another safe way of doing it. If you could just mark, in which case you would just mark out with a knife. You would just mark out. Remember, the box at this stage is quite vulnerable. It's not a strong box until it comes together and is screwed. The sides of this particular one are about 5 millimeters. In theory, you could use the knife to go through both sides, but it's quite deep. I think it's more likely that we'll be cutting this away. So we're going to make some saw cuts. Now, if you're not confident in your sawing, just do it so you can still see the pencil line, and then we can come back to that pencil line with a file and file exactly to fit. So if you're afraid about cutting it, I'm going to try and get it as close as I can. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to make some waste cuts. Okay. So we have our cuts. So at this point, there are several ways we can use our saw, and we can go at angle. We can do some saw cuts to cut some pieces out. What I'm going to do is use a coping saw, but this is just what I have. Need to go careful because it's this is made of quite soft plywood, and we have quite already see even with our fitting the neck properly, we can see that it fits. Now we will be bolting this. We don't have to glue this in unless you can glue this in, but my recommendation will be to screw this into a block underneath. The block adds a lot of reinforcement. We're going to measure the distance we need and make a block to fit. Okay, so we've planed this top book. It's just around about 1 inch wide for this piece of wood, and I've planed it to 19.9, so it's just fractionally more than it needs, 19.9. And we'll be connecting the strings to these blocks, to the lower end block. So what we need to do is to measure the inside space. We want a relatively tight fit. We're going to glue it in. It's 17.5. Double check again. Again, we're just going to mark on It's a nice push fit. We've got a good close fit at this end. What we do need to do is make sure when we glue this in that we cut away any paper on the lining side. We don't want to. We want to be gluing wood to wood. Just going to cut that away. Just cut any loose paper there is. At this point, you can use a wet tissue to get rid of any glue stains. I'm going to use a flat brace underneath. I'm going to clamp this one. We'll leave this for 10 minutes while the glue is gelling, and then we're going to use a chisel to scrape off the glue. Should better take off the glue now that it's had a chance to dry. If you do miss a glue drop, it's not too hard to remove.